Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26.2.1 to the public. iOS 26.2.1 is available around the world at the same time for everyone on all iOS 26 supported devices. However, if you're running iOS 26.3 betas, you won't have the update as you're on a newer version, and you would need a computer in order to downgrade. Now, if you're not seeing the update, you can find it and install it by going into your settings, going to General, and then Software Update. If you're still not seeing it, make sure beta updates are off, go back, and then go back into Software Update, and you should see it there. Now, this came in at a fairly small 654.3 megabytes on my iPhone Air. It was about 800 megabytes on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and along with this, Apple also released many other updates. iPadOS 26.2.1, watchOS 26.2.1, along with some older updates, iOS 18.7.4, iOS 16.7.13, iOS 15.8.6, and even iOS 12.5.8. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go into Settings, then we'll go to General, then About. As you can see, the build number is 23C71, and this particular update does have a new modem update. So if you're coming from iOS 26.2 or older to iOS 26.2.1, you should have a modem update. Hopefully it improves overall connectivity. We'll have to wait and see what that's like over the next few days though. As far as new changes and features, well, the first thing is AirTag support. Apple today announced a brand new AirTag second generation, as they're calling it, and it says it's even easier to locate with more powerful precision finding, a longer Bluetooth range, and a louder speaker. It's available now for $29 or $99 for a 4-pack, and allows for precision finding even on the watch with watchOS 26.2.1. So as long as you have that installed, you'll be able to use the watch for that as well. We'll have to test it out and see if it allows for precision finding on maybe AirPods and other things with the watch now as well, from Series 9 and newer. So again, new AirTags are available starting Wednesday, and you should be able to pick those up. Let me know if you'd like a separate video about those. As far as anything else, well, if we take a look at Apple's release notes, all it says is this update provides support for AirTag second generation along with bug fixes. Again, just like previous updates, Apple hasn't stated what those bug fixes are. So we'll have to test it over the next few days, see if they've improved CarPlay, as I was having disconnect issues. Also, though, the stuttering seems to have really improved this time around. We'll talk about that in a moment. And resprings hopefully have improved as well. We don't know that 100%, but we're still going to have to try that out and see. As far as the wallpaper bug, if we pull down here, you'll see it's nice and saturated, swipe up, and it desaturates. So they still haven't improved this. It goes back and forth. Sometimes it's a little better, sometimes it's a little worse. When it comes to security updates, if we take a look at Apple's security release website and scroll down, you'll see that it has iOS 26.2.1 and iPadOS 26.2.1. However, it says this update has no published CVE entries. Now, this doesn't mean there's no security updates, and it's very important to install, but sometimes they'll publish these after if there's additional critical ones that they just don't want to tell us about until after it's installed. You'll also see the same thing for iOS 18.7.4 and the other updates they released today as well, where there's no published CVE updates. So maybe we'll see an update a little bit later once they release an update for Mac or other devices. As far as other new releases today, along with that new AirTag they also introduced a black Unity band. Now, typically with this time of the year updates, we get a black Unity wallpaper and Apple Watch face, but this time around we're only seeing the watch band. It says Apple unveils the new black Unity Apple Watch band, a special edition braided solo loop, celebrates the power of connection. You can see it here, but again, there's no new wallpaper, there's no new watch face, but you can pick this up for $99, ordering it now, and it should be available later this week. So again, this is available, and you'll see that here. So I'll link this in the description below along with the new AirTag. They're available to order now. But other than that, again, no new wallpaper this year, which is a little bit different. Also on Wednesday, we're going to get the new Creator Studio. Apple introduced this last week or so. You'll see here they introduced Apple Creator Studio, and this should release on the 28th. So all new icons and everything else, along with some new features and more. So again, this is coming in a couple days, so we could possibly see new Macs, and maybe we'll see some new updates this week as well. Based on what we've seen in the past and releases today, I would expect iOS 26.3 RC as soon as tomorrow. Based on what we've had before, the RC tomorrow, possibly a public release on the 2nd. However, if we get iOS 26.3 Beta 3, we could see that tomorrow, then the RC on the 2nd or 3rd, then the public release on the 9th. Apple hasn't commented on what versions they're releasing, but at this point we don't really know. We're just waiting for them to push that out. So that's what I would expect. Then we'll see the new Siri 2.0 update integrating with Google's Gemini, probably in February at some point, announced by them. So we'll have to wait and see what that's all about, but that should be in iOS 26.4, and we should see that in beta in a couple weeks or so. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.2.1, if you're on iOS 26.2, I would say absolutely, as typically you're probably experiencing issues from anything from battery life to stability to performance issues and more. So this hopefully will resolve many of those issues. I really wish Apple would give us more information as far as what the bug fixes are so we know specifically, but we'll have to wait and see if it resolves most of those issues. When it comes to performance, it seems very fluid and fast so far. So going into the app library, ProMotion seems very smooth, and just in general, the experience so far, just using it for about a half hour to an hour, is nice and smooth and fast. So hopefully it stays this way. We'll have to see if it stays this way over time, what it's like on older devices and more. So be sure to check back for the weekend follow-up video where I'll cover all of those in detail. When it comes to overall heat, the thermals, of course, I expect it to heat up when a new update is installing, but let's take a look as we run benchmarks, what the heat signature is like. Let's go ahead and run that. We'll check benchmarks and the overall heat. With the iPhone Air, you'll see the heat signature here is pretty typical. It's around 38 degrees Celsius. I've seen it up to 40 running benchmarks before. And on the iPhone 17 Pro Max running 26.2.1, we're around 33 degrees Celsius. So pretty good overall, right where you would expect running overall benchmarks. Let's take a look at benchmarks themselves. Now, initial benchmarks completed, and they're a little bit low just because it's still processing in the background. But this gives you a general idea with the iPhone 17 Pro Max coming in at 3,776 for single core, 9,478 for multi-core. If I gave this some time, it would typically improve, and we'll take a look at that in the weekend follow-up video. Let's take a look at battery. We'll go to settings, and then we'll go to battery, and then battery health. You'll see I'm at 100% capacity with 72 cycles. And today, if we take a look at battery usage, I have 1 hour and 58 minutes of screen active time, 3 hours and 19 minutes of screen idle time, and I've used 55% of the battery. This isn't great overall, but it's actually decent for iPhone Air, where I get 4 to 5 hours of screen on time. So we'll have to see what this is like over the next few days on this, the 17 Pro Max, and some older devices as well. So again, be sure to check back for the weekend follow-up video. Let's take a look at storage as well. So we'll go into settings, then we'll take a look at general, and then iPhone storage. Wait for it to load here. On the left is iOS 26.3 Beta 2. On the right is iOS 26.2.1. If we take a look, you'll see Apple Intelligence is taking up 6.62 gigabytes. iOS is 13.75 gigabytes for a total size of 20.37 gigabytes. Basically what we expect from iOS at this point, so right where it should be. And system data is going to vary up and down. Currently it's at 23 gigabytes, but later on it could be at 1 gigabyte when it's done indexing and processing in the background. One other thing I wanted to mention has to do with iOS 18.7.4 release today. This is the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's currently on iOS 18.7.3, but there's no option to update, and the download files are not available as well. So this is the end of the line for iOS 18.7.3, and they're really wanting you to upgrade to iOS 26.2.1 at this point. I would love to see those files available, but they're just not at this point. So that's everything with iOS 26.2.1 so far. Hopefully it resolves many of the issues, and we'll talk about that in the weekend follow-up video to confirm it resolves issues like the wallpaper bug, other crashing issues, CarPlay, and much more. Let me know your experience in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.